and let us all do we can to build a better future. Now, The Hill, they let go of Katie Halper. They let go of Kim Iverson for a lot of BS reasons. And some time ago, just want to pull up this article here just to remind all of you. There's some rat bastards who are upset, staffers are upset, that Briahna Joy Gray has been critical of the war in between Israel and Palestine. And this is an ongoing trend that we are seeing, especially all across the media, where we're seeing reporters and journalists being censored and fired and silenced or removed from speaking or losing their anchorship position. And there are people who are so upset that Briahna Joy Gray was speaking out her mind. And then there are, of course, several Hill reporters expressed concern over Gray's reckless commentary, worrying that her status as co-host of their morning show would make their job talking to lawmakers in Washington harder. Well, that's the whole job of being a journalist in media. You're not supposed to be buddy-buddy with these freaking politicians. So Briahna Joy Gray went on System Update to speak with Glenn Greenwald to talk about how there's this cowardly effort to silence her. The Hill wrongly silenced Katie Halper. The Hill wrongly silenced Kim Iverson. And I'll be really upset if the Hill decides to silence Briahna Joy Gray. Let's play this video.
I honestly can't think of anything more reprehensible and slimy than going to the media, working at a media outlet, and encouraging, begging corporate bosses to pay attention and to fire a journalist for expressing views that you dislike, and to make it worse, they don't even have the courage to put their name on those calls. They're doing it anonymously. And of course, the Daily Beast airs that. So I want to know what you think of that, but also if you agree with what the Daily Beast says, which is that almost the entire mainstream media is on the side of conservative media in terms of taking a pro-Israeli view. And if so, what does that mean about the importance to allow you to do the kinds of things that you're doing?
Exactly. He told him himself. Of course, it's true that most of the mainstream American media, including what he just said, self-described centrist channel over at News Nation that's owned by the same parent company, Nexstar, as The Hill, do take a pro-Israel response. Every statement made by anybody in the Biden administration, and also all of the establishment Republicans, which is the overwhelming bulk of the Republican Party, preface every comment about Israel with it has an unqualified right to defend itself without any proportionality. That's the subtext of that. In pledging unlimited aid, Biden just asked for what was $100 billion in aid, as a combined Ukraine and Israel aid package, but still with $100 million, and the extreme difference between $1 million and $1 billion cannot be fully comprehended by the human mind. $100 million just for humanitarian, the rest for weapons and military aid. So of course that's true. And of course, that's exactly why a show like Rising is so important, where we have a left chair and a right chair. And every single day we have to justify our beliefs to each other and face the pushback that we get from an intelligent co-host. And I should say that Robbie and the Hill team, the Rising team.
I just want to say real quick, it's important to speak to people that will challenge you critically. Okay. You don't want to be in your own bubble. You don't want to be in your own safe space. You don't want to be in an environment where everyone's agreeing 100%. It's important to see another perspective and point of view. Let's be very clear here about what's happening, though, with this war. And I think we've all seen it across social media. It's very, very concerning to me. And that is a super knee-jerk reaction to censor and silence anyone that's being critical of this war between Palestine and Israel. The unending military aid that is going to Israel, and yes, to an extent, even Ukraine. Billions for war, nothing for the people. And what's happening in Gaza, let's be very clear for what it is. It is a goddamn crime. Civilian buildings being targeted. All what's going to lead to is further hatred, further instability. And anyone that's a journalist, be it independent media, or in corporate media, if you have a dissenting opinion, you're being put on that chopping block. And we should all be deeply concerned of what lies in store in the future if we don't put an end to this. I want to play a little bit more to Briahna Joy Gray, especially for the fact that, look, some people from the Hill, some staffers are going to go ahead and cry like little punks to the Daily Beast and say, "Oh, she's a danger. She's going to make our job harder." That's the whole point of journalism. Your whole point is to challenge authority. And sometimes these politicians don't want to, reveal to the world that they're actually scumbags because corporate media has created an environment to where these politicians are A-okay and happily represented. And these journalists, these pundits, these corporate pundits, people like Maddow or anyone else at BSDNC or CNN, have access to these politicians because they're all friends with each other. Same people who own our politicians control the media.
Has been incredibly supportive. We're all very frustrated by this. Robbie tweeted out how much he disagrees with this, and we all really value and want to protect the show and what it is able to do. And my understanding is that some of the higher ups are also very supportive and have defended our show against some pushback from the Hill. That being said, the commentary in the article is so funny, in part because, and again, I really like Robbie, and I'm not trying to throw him under the bus at all. But when they call it like a profanity laden discourse, this insinuation is the yelling of the profanity comes from me. God bless Robbie. He doesn't do this often, but the reason that clip went viral is because he started saying the F word and hollering at me in the middle of the segment.
And look, let's face it, Robbie. Listen, we love you, baby. We love you with your passion. But next time, have a Snickers bar. All right, you listen. You got to have your pregame food, your pregame meal. All right, so you don't get too hangry. Robbie dropping the F-bombs, man. Hey, when's that album coming out, buddy?
And with a very elevated tone, like I didn't even know Robbie was capable of that level of anger. I've known him for a long time. I've seen him for a long time. You work by his side. But you're right.
Who knew Robbie had that chihuahua in him?
You sat there in this like extremely calm way, like you were kind of drowning in Valium, purposely trying to like keep this very calm demeanor. And you're right. Yeah. The implication is that you're some kind of like vulgarity spewing radical going on these rampages. And if people watch the clip, they will see that in fact the exact opposite is true.
Very true. And there's a little bit more to this, especially for this interview that Glenn Greenwald had with Briahna Joy Gray. And I encourage every single one of you to check out System Update. However, while I do think that Briahna Joy Gray is going to be just fine, I don't think she'll be put on the chopping block anytime soon. There is this ongoing wave of censorship and suppression. And I'm concerned by it because a lot of my colleagues in independent media, such as Richard Medhurst, JB Font of RBN, have been hit with the censorship, as of everyone else. And I will not abide by that. But also what's happening with corporate media. When you have journalists from the BBC being let go, our cartoonist from The Guardian being let go because he did a satirical image of Prime Minister Netanyahu. And now, just to trigger the liberals, we have an article from RT. Israel moves closer to blocking Al Jazeera. The Israeli government has approved emergency regulations allowing it to suspend the operations of foreign media outlets amid the conflict with Hamas, paving the way for the closure of the office of the Qatar-based Al Jazeera channel. Say it with me, folks. The censorship of media and of journalism. What could possibly go wrong? This won't be the first story nor the last story of people being silenced and suppressed. So as far as I'm concerned, we got to keep our heads on a swivel, folks. And I, for one, stand in solidarity with Briahna Joy Gray. She's been doing phenomenal work. And yes, Robbie, we're going to throw you in here too. You do some great work too, brother. I think we're all just shocked that he was able to drop those F-bombs, but he was passionate about it. You were in the wrong, though, but you were passionate about it, and that's why we love you. So, look, at the end of the day, we got to stand firm and resolute against censorship, and we should definitely not be afraid when journalists, reporters, commentators give their analysis. Because think about how weak you are as a person, where You get so shocked that, oh my God, someone had a dissenting opinion. I'm going to run to somebody else and say, oh, I don't like what they said. They're going to make our jobs harder. They should be let go. You got a problem, say it to their face. Don't go hiding in the shadows like a little punk. To those staffers at the Hill, why are you hiding? Why are you scared? You got a problem, boot up, suit up, and say, hey, I didn't like that. That's if you got the courage and the backbone. You know what that article from the Daily Beast shows me? That those people at those staffers at the Hill who are afraid that Briahna Joy Gray's statement is going to make their jobs harder to speak to politicians in Washington, D.C., it tells me that those staffers aren't good at their job in the first place. And maybe they should be the ones to be let go. Because if you're saying your job is just too hard, maybe you just don't have what it takes to be in this game. Okay? That's just my 2 cents. Keep speaking truth to power, Briahna Joy Gray. Never back down.